Well, it looks like they went full-blown wokety woke all the way to the end of the series, because we certainly get more of that in episode 6 of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So I want to share my reaction to you on this final episode and then on this series as a whole. Again, stay with me through this whole video because I want to present some things to you that I noticed in this episode as well. And again, some food for thought if you are thinking certain ways about how they handled this show. But the first thing I want to do is I want to give a shout out and say thank you to everybody who jumped in the comments for my reaction to episode 4 and episode 5. We tackled the subject of race head on because the show tackles it, and I feel like you got to talk about it. If we're going to talk about the show, we got to talk about that issue. And you jumped into the comments and you had the courage to share your responses, and everybody's response was not the same. Some people were frustrated that they were dealing with race in the show. Some people didn't mind it. Different perspectives were talked about. I loved all of that, and thank you so much for everybody keeping it respectful. That's what I hope we do here on this channel. Obviously, every show we talk about won't deal with the issue of race, and if it doesn't, we're not going to go there. We're not going to trump it up just to trump it up, but this show did it. So I feel like if you're going to review it, if you're going to react to it, you can't not talk about that because it's part of the show. So I thank you so much for everybody for commenting. I hope that you will do the same with this video, as well as I'm going to share some closing thoughts about this series and about this episode, our final episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But real quickly, I want to talk about my reaction to that opening fight scene because it was absolutely fantastic. Now, I want you to think about this. That thing went on for almost 20 minutes. That's a long time. Maybe even 30 minutes. That's a long time. And it was so expansive. That fight scene really expanded across the whole city, which is really appropriate. And I like how they did that when you think about the scope of the Flag Smashers, because they're everywhere. They're not in just one localized place. And we saw that as Carly unrolled her plan. She had folks set up in all these different locations, and that expanded the fight. But it gave us a really epic battle, and it gave us a chance to really see what some of the upgrades that were done to Sam's, or now Captain America's suit. So I really enjoyed that fight sequence. I loved how Walker came into that whole fight scene. Morgan, oh! And he was upset. And then how about the interchange that they had, Carly and Walker, when Carly's asking, when Walker is asking about Lamar, and Carly says, I didn't really mean to kill your friend. He didn't really matter to me. And you know, Walker was like, ding, the crazy button went off then, because he loved that dude. They were buddies. So he gets into that fight, and that whole fight scene between him and then how everybody else comes into the fight. And it's just an amazing scene to see on such a large scope. I absolutely loved that scene. Now, what I want to spend most of the time, though, talking about here are characters. 3 different characters, because as I see it, Darksiders, this is what this show is really about. This show is really about individual characters and their relationship with their past, their present, and their future. So I want to focus on Walker, then I want to focus on Bucky, and we'll end up with Falcon, who is now Captain America, and we'll talk a little bit about Isaiah Bradley as well. Let's start with Walker. First off, I really love what they did with Walker in this episode, because I feel like Walker had some redemption. He had a little bit of a character arc, and there was a little bit of redemption in him. And the show does such a good job because these characters are complex, and I love how they wrote that. They're not black and white. The show makes it hard for you to hate all of these characters in their totality because it shows the complexity of who they are as individuals, and that's good writing, ladies and gentlemen. So I love the fact that we get Walker back in this. He's still on a mission. In his head, he is still thinking about redeeming himself. In his head, he cannot fully let go that he is not really in the service of the U.S. government, even though technically he is, if Elaine is really working for the government. I call her Elaine. I don't know. Madam Hydra. She's Elaine from Seinfeld. But I love what happens in this character because we see him come into the fight, but then we see him kind of transition during the middle of the fight, and they all 3 start working together. That is, we have Walker, we have Bucky, and we have Captain America, Falcon, working together. And I love to see how they did that, how they bring his character kind of full circle, how he has these moments of enlightenment where he needs to decide if he's going to go on his vengeance quest and continue to go after Carly, or if he's going to save the people on the bus or in the truck. And he decides to save the people in the truck. And for me, I was like, yeah, like this is not a bad dude. This is not a bad dude. This is a dude who got put into a situation he should have never been put in because he was not ready. But at his core, he does not seem to be a bad dude. This is actually a good reflection of how he is in the comic books, because he does have a very checkered pattern in the comic books of some of his decision making, some of his suspect, right? But I like how they reflect that in him in the show, and they make you almost root for him. They make you like him. They make you feel bad for him. And that's how I felt for Agent Walker. I was happy at the end where, actually, ironically enough, did you see it? How there was redemption for him, the very place where he got rejected by the government. And by the way, I felt for him when he was having that conversation, trying to explain why he did what he did. And then they just flat out wouldn't hear him. But he tried to tell them, he said, listen, I did everything that you asked me to do. Everything. And now I don't even get to say my piece. You want to strip me of the shield and send me walking? No pun intended. Although that was kind of clever. I like it. Send me walking. Anyway, and you listen, you want to pack me away? And they strip him of his rank. And I think they strip him of his pay. And then they just move him on. The only thing they don't do is they don't give him a dishonorable discharge. Now, listen, Darksiders, there's no way in the world the government could have let him go. He did that in front of the whole world. He murdered someone. The government could not be attached to that. So they had to get rid of him. But I do, his argument to say, listen, I did everything you asked me to do, and this is what I get in return. So I like the fact that the very same place where that happened, he gets restoration, right? He's restored to a role of being able to serve the government by Elaine. Now, her motives probably are crooked, but he feels like he's back. And he even says it, I'm back. And I love how they bring his character kind of full circle and they give us that arc. But there's still, again, some complexities to his character, because we know that there's some stuff not right for him. But they don't make it so cut and dry that you can't feel for him. And I think some of you all out there resonate with what I'm saying. So I love what they did with Walker's character. Now, let's talk about Bucky. Bucky's character is fantastic. Sebastian Stan, sometimes in this show, I like him more than I do Anthony Mackie. He does such a good job as the Winter Soldier. Absolutely love his performance in this show. Love what they do with his character as well, because again, he gets some more restoration. And I feel like the completion of the arc of his character is done well in episode 6 also. We see him begin to shed the baggage, right, of the Winter Soldier when he's in battle and he's helping these people. And did you see his response when they get out of the truck and they say, thank you for your help? And he says, yeah, he says, you're welcome. And then we reflect on the comment that Sam made to him and said, listen, you got to stop trying to avenge people and get out there and help people that need help. And that begins to resonate with him. That begins to sink in with him. And you feel his character start to change as he begins to drop the weight or the past, the baggage, the heaviness, the hurt, the pain of the Winter Soldier, and he begins to leave that behind. And by the time we get to the end of this episode, we see he's almost fully evolved into someone that's different. And we see him also try and talk Carly down. He says, listen, I've been where you've been. This is not going to end like you think it's going to end. You will not be able to rest from the damage that you cause these people. But she's not trying to hear it. So I love Bucky's evolution here. I love the change that we see with him. And again, that's why I say this show is really much more about characters and how they deal with their past, present, and future. Now, all of it's under the umbrella of Captain America and their relationship to the country and to the Shield. But at its core, this show is about characters, and that's what makes this whole series so special. Now, if we jump to Anthony Mackie, Falcon, Captain America, whatever you want to call them, I'll take it. Love what they do here. Submitting this for you to think about. Looking forward to your comments. So, I love the decision that he makes here. When he comes onto the scene and we first see him break through, he announces himself as Captain America. And we instantly know that notwithstanding all that he's heard from Isaiah and what he's heard from others, he has thought about all of this and he has decided that he has made a choice. And that is, he is going to embrace the mantle of Captain America. Now, here's what's special about that. Hear me, man. Here's what's special about that. What's special about that is that he has a really interesting conversation with Isaiah Bradley. And I hope I don't forget to share something with you that I think is really important in relationship to Sam Wilson and Steve Rogers. He has this conversation with Isaiah, and what he decides is that, listen, I'm going to fight for America. And he tells Isaiah, we built this country. And I do think that that was intended to have a double meaning. I do think that that was meant for Isaiah to understand that as slaves, we built this country, and by and large, we did it for free. I think he meant that. But I also think he meant that statement in a corporate sense, that we were also part of the people that built this country. And I'm not going to let anyone tell me that I can't fight for a country that I built. So I will pick this mantle up. I will wear this shield and represent the country as Captain America, but I will also represent as an African American, notwithstanding all that's gone on with the African American experience in the country, all of the history. He didn't push that aside. He didn't say that doesn't matter. He didn't say I will no longer embrace that. I'm embracing both. And he makes the statement that someone has to move this forward. Someone has to move the chains forward, right? To use a football analogy. So I'm going to do both. I'm going to represent myself as an African American, understanding all that goes into the culture. And he even makes a statement, right, when he's talking to the police or when he's talking to the board, and he's trying to tell them, you need to reconsider how you're doing things. You're making these decisions with all of these people, and it's affecting them negatively. You're not that much different than Carly, nor really are you that much different from an insane God, making that reference to Thanos. What you're doing can have the same impact. And I love the statement that he makes when he says, and if you're going to make these decisions about people that are going to massively affect their lives all over the world, shouldn't there be somebody at the table that's part of that community helping you shape those decisions? That's a great point. And I think he's absolutely right about that. And he goes on to say that he knows that people are going to have problems with him being a black Captain America. Says that there's like 2 million people out there that are not going to have it. He says, I feel it, right? I feel it even now, even here, the stares, the feelings. I know that. But despite all of that, he's going to take the mantle up and move forward. He fully embraces who he is as an African American and all that comes with that. He fully embraces who he is as an American and as Captain America, the symbol of American hope, and he moves all of that together at the same time. I love it. I love it. They didn't trade. They didn't go left. They didn't go right. He made up his own decision and he moved the ball forward, and he represented who he was as an individual and also the country. And he realized that even though it was going to be an uphill battle, Isaiah said to him, you're going to have a hard time doing this. And he even says, listen, I might even die doing this, but listen, I'm going to pick up the mantle and I'm going to move forward. Now, listen to this. Think about this. Do you remember when Zemo was saying to him when he was having a conversation about Cap, and I think it was Bucky who asked Zemo, well, what about Captain America? Because you remember Zemo was saying, basically, we made this analogy before, that the serum is like the ring from Lord of the Rings. You can't take it without being corrupted. And Zemo's response is that Captain America was different. Captain America was special. And remember I said that the camera, when he said that, panned to Falcon. Because Falcon and Captain America are very much the same inwardly. And I'm going to tell you what I mean by that in a second. But isn't it interesting that in episode 6, what does Isaiah say to Falcon? He says, you're special, doesn't he? The same thing that Zemo said about Captain America. It was a very similar statement that was made about Captain America during Captain America: The First Avenger, when he's going through the trial for the super serum, and the statement is made about him being different, about there being something special about him. Why is that significant? Let me tell you why. Think about this. Let me know what you think in the comments. Please let me know what you think in the comments. There is a very, very close similarity between Sam Wilson, Falcon, at this point we'll call him, just so we can differentiate, and Steve Rogers, Captain America. They are very similar at their core, who they are inwardly, at their outlook, at their disposition. Now, this is a fascinating thing to consider because culturally, they are not the same. They have very different experiences, and this show goes on to push that. Sam's experience as an African American is different than Steve's experience as a white American, but inwardly they're the same. And it's really fascinating how they did this, because when we think about Steve Rogers, we think about him as a guy that is morally upright, that is going to try his best to always do the right thing, try his best to protect those. And when we see Sam operate in the show, he reflects that same attitude when he's dealing with people. I said this before in the last video. It's very much a reflection of the inward qualities that Captain America has. And I think that that's fascinating, and I think that they do this on purpose. I think that that is the reason that Cap thought that he was fit to have the shield. It wasn't, Cap didn't see the color of his skin. Cap saw the quality of the man. And in that way, they are very similar, though culturally and outwardly, experientially, they probably experience very different lives, because one is black and one is white. But when it came to what was inside, which is always what we're talking about, right? Like, you judge a person by the quality of who they are in the inside, not by how they look on the outside. They were the same. And the writers do a good job of presenting Sam as someone that was very, very similar to Steve in quality. And we know from that he was fit to wear the shield. Steve saw that, and that's why Steve gave him that shield. So I love how they have that. We get that comparison, and in that sense, Steve and Sam are very much alike. The only thing really that separates them outside of their experience is the color of their skin. And to that extent, it doesn't matter what your skin color is. Your worthiness to bear the shield is really about the character of who you are as an individual. And I love what happens with Falcon, because again, his character finally embraces what he needs to do at the end, and he becomes Captain America. I told you that this show is much more really about characters and their relationship to their past, present, and future. It's under the umbrella of Captain America and the relationship that all these different characters have to the shield, which is a varied relationship. And again, it's so impressive that the show does not shy away from that. So I wanted just to present that to you, because I wanted you to think about that. I want to hear your comments about that. That's why this show is so good. And that's why I'm so excited that they did what they did here, and that they tackle race. And I'm so excited that we here at Dark Side Reviews, we didn't shy away from it. We didn't give you reviews that said, oh yeah, this thing happened, a little black racial thing happened there. And then just keep talking about other elements of the show, because I feel like the core of the show was to push the conversation. But we can do it in a way where we can agree to disagree. And hopefully I can present some stuff that would cause folks to just to start to think a certain way about something that might be different, even if they think what I'm saying is a bunch of crap. But just put it out there. So I love the platform that this show really gave us to push this, and I think it's such an important thing when we see it in the show, not to be scared of it. Now, every show we see is not going to be like this. Like, I cannot wait. I can't wait. I love the feel of it, man. Every time I see the trailer for Loki, I get excited. I think the world building that's in that is going to be fantastic. And Tom Hiddleston the man is awesome. So I can't wait for Loki, but I don't suspect that we'll be talking about race much in Loki, because I'm not sure that theme will come up. But when it does come up, we're not going to be scared to talk about it. We'll address it. We're not going to beat everybody over the head, but this show was so poignantly dealing with that issue that I felt like we had to bring it up. And there's no problem with that. It's all good. White, black, red, yellow, whatever, I don't know, the full spectrum of colors. It's all good. So thank you so much, you guys, for checking this out. Make sure that you check out more videos on the channel. If you are new here, make sure you subscribe. I will be getting out my video response or reaction to Mortal Kombat. That might be enough for you right there. No, I'm going to talk about it, because there were some good things to get into with that. So we'll talk about Mortal Kombat. I'm going to try and get that out either today or maybe tomorrow. I'm not sure, but soon. I'll get it out sometime this weekend, so make sure you guys check that out. Thank you for all the new subscribers. Welcome to the Dark Side community. You are all now officially Darksiders. I will see you guys on the next video, and I will see you in the comments for the next hour or so. All right, everybody. Peace.